like I have a tank top on under it because I'm afraid the strap will fail. So, anyways, probably going to be messing with that a lot. This is just going to be a brief video. I'm going to try to keep my lives under an hour because it seems like it reaches the hour mark. The connection always gets worse, and I don't want to have to deal with poor quality of content. So, I wanted to talk about Kentuckians happier because, from my perspective, as somebody who is 38 years old and has lived in multiple states, I've lived on both coasts of this country in California and Florida, and I spent most of my childhood in the excuse me, I'm so sorry, in the state of Indiana. I have my tea next to me. There's like allergy, sinuses, people are cutting down their hay. It's it's bad. The sinuses, the allergies aren't much better here in South Central Kentucky than by the Louisville area. I was hoping they would be better. They're actually, if anything, worse. So are Kentuckians happier? Because it seems to me, as somebody who's lived in multiple states and who's spoken to other people who have also lived in multiple states, that the consensus is Kentuckians seem to be happier, more fulfilled, just nicer on average. And even in the cities like Louisville and Lexington, the crime is bad. Crime is too bad to be someplace I would want to reside in. But there's still a lot more friendly people. It's kind of where that Southern hospitality starts. I know it technically starts, the South starts like Tennessee, Nashville, but where does it start? You know what I mean? It kind of is not such a fine line, in my opinion. Kentucky has a lot of history where both sides came together, where both sides started to clash, where the North and South had encampments in place. I believe Liberty, Kentucky is one of those places, like somebody that makes a lot of Liberty, Kentucky could touch upon the fact there's a plaque outside of their courthouse that talks about how there was both Confederate and Union soldiers encampments in Liberty. Ollie said, "Hey, greetings from Finland. It's midsummer here. The sun doesn't set at all day and night." That is so neat, Ollie. It's like that. The only place that's like that in our country is Alaska in the summertime as well, I believe, for a month or two. Or if the dust set, it's just for an hour or two or three each day. Do you like that? Do you stay up later, or is your schedule the same? I think that's really interesting. I follow Jonna Jenton. She's a person that lives in Sweden. She bought a homestead on ancestral land. Like she went and lived in this, moved to a small village in northern Sweden where her ancestors used to live. Super great, interesting channel where she's like learned how to do all sorts of like calls, and she is a really interesting person. She's an artist. Her husband's an artist. I highly recommend Jonna Jenton to anybody that watches any YouTube at all. She's one of my favorites. So I believe one of the reasons why people just seem more content, even like happiness, what is happiness really? Like that's the first thing. What is happiness? The goal of life isn't to always walk around being quote unquote happy, right? But in my opinion, people overall are more content because people overall have lived with less for most of our history, especially in the Appalachian region of Kentucky. You are part of the what is Appalachia, the poorest region of our entire country. And there is something that shines through those people that have, grown up that way. And this was shown in Soft White Underbelly. Kind of what got his channel to start was he went to Appalachia, interviewed especially these elderly people where they talked about like how things used to be. Every neighbor on their street kept their door open, and you were free to go into your neighbors' homes and welcome yourself to, whatever they had, snacks or drinks. Everyone treated each other as family, basically. And unfortunately, because of rugs, you know what I mean? Put the D in front of it. A lot of things have changed. And but that nature of those people and those community-minded people is still there, more so per capita than anywhere else I've ever lived. And it's part of its charm for sure. And people being used to doing without that plays into the community mindedness. You're just used to leaning on your neighbors. Neighbors are more likely for help to you. I've never had so many helpful neighbors. And I also believe like being a homeowner, if that is your goal, that thing when we moved into our first house, it was in Indiana. I found community with neighbors. When you're in the same neighborhood, you all have the same goals of having a nice neighborhood and you want to look out for each other. There's something special about that I wish everybody would have, whether you owned a home or not. Like it's just something I never found in a rental community because people are coming and going faster, I guess, and it's just not the same. But in all of Kentucky, and I've lived in Louisville, Well, I guess I haven't lived much far west or east, but I have traveled plenty enough. Like people just seem to be happier. And when you are around other people, like we are walking batteries, they're content with their lives, it will really affect you. I had a coworker who came from Indiana, and the first thing he said to me when I told him I also lived in Indiana, he's like, people are happier here, aren't they? They're like friendlier here, like much friendlier. No offense to anybody in Indiana, there's great people in Indiana. I know great people that live there currently. So I'm not saying everybody is doomed that lives anywhere but in Kentucky. But if you traveled here and spent any significant amount of time in a small town in Kentucky or a small town in Indiana, you would see there's like so many more clicks going on, so much more like keeping with the Joneses type, like, competition between neighbors. I feel like as somebody who used to live there. Hello from Erlanger, Queen of the Parks. That Erlanger, Kentucky, Queen of the Parks. Hi, how are you doing today? And if you are from Kentucky, do you agree with me? I don't know how you've traveled, but I spent a lot of time in Florida, all over Florida, Central Florida, both coasts of Florida. I've lived there, and I've spent time in Northern Florida visiting there. And Florida is a great place. But there's something about a place where there aren't as many natives. It's like the people that were born here and stay and that kind of, like, history that like, it's unlike any other place I've ever been, and it's calming for a certain reason. That's not to say they don't welcome outsiders because they do, but as I mentioned before, like, the more rural the community, like, you are gonna face more per capita of the negative hillbilly stereotype that's like, "This is my land, this was my family's land, and who are you? You don't belong here on these" that kinda stereotype you fear if you pull into their driveway, they're gonna pull out a rifle on you and stuff like that. Like, that does occur, and there are deaf places where that occurs a lot more, and I'm not downing everybody that lives in those counties of Kentucky. If you want to be more isolated, if we were, like, retiree age, we might have moved to Casey County, Kentucky. But I'm just saying, like, just so people are aware, like, not how all of Kentucky is. There are plenty of counties with just, like, a lot more culture, a lot more people coming and going, but there's still, like, some hominess because there is a lot of people, and I think it has a lot to do with owning family land, and that benefits all. More of us average working people still have land passed down to us generationally and own big swaths of land and can maybe improve our lives one day by selling 10, 30, 40, 50, 100 of our acres, the better, right? And like that is still occurring in Kentucky. One of the reasons there is any influx of people, because if you are interested in buying acreage, Kentucky will stand out to you. God said, I bet you can't even 10 push-ups. Okay, God. Well, you would know since you're God, right? Heinrich Lunge. Are you German? No, I'm not a German in the US. No, I am not. I am part Swiss German. My grandpa immigrated here from Switzerland on the German side. Um, but I never learned any German. I just feel like people are less judgmental here overall, and that I think goes hand in hand with like used to being around less. Even if you and your family have more, you're just used to being around more people who don't, and it's fine. And there's more of a mix of people. Like when you drive down the road in these rural communities, you'll see a dumpy, and then you'll see like somebody building a beautiful 300,000 plus house next to it. And I've even had this thought several times, like, why would you want to put your house near that? And then I'm like, but that's part of the beauty of this part of Kentucky. In Indiana, it's like, it's not like that. It's like, this is a nice part of the countryside. Like, nobody is allowed to put a single light anywhere near where anybody's going to build their nice houses, and people like don't intermingle like that so much. Hi, oh, I already read Heinrich. Hi, John. How are you doing today? And there's people with multiple skills because of that aspect of not having a lot of opportunities, not having a lot of jobs. There are people that develop multiple skills, live in a community close to people like that. It will benefit you and more likely to learn skills from them as well. And that's part of the beauty of being in a community. And you might have, as I mentioned in my live last night, which I was going to private to cut it off when it gets bad and the audio goes completely out, but really wanted to keep that up because I like the first 20 minutes are like, we are told by so many people, particularly online influencers, but let's be real, a lot of our social lives revolve around it, that we are low value. You are not a high value person until it's you make X amount of money. And now we're all chasing like something that is becoming more impossible to reach for more of us. And in my opinion, the only way we can really get ahead of the system that's trying to basically us all serfs, like make us all renters, make us all reliable on them and indebted to them in every way, shape, and form possible. The only way we can get ahead of that is if more of us, as much of us as possible, try to go debt free and grow, not only grow food, but use a permaculture system where it's closed loop and everything we have and need is provided for in that piece of land. Nature provides. God and nature provides everything we need. And you see that, you feel that in Kentucky. There's so many times when I'm driving it, you can see, mountains, hills, valleys. There's creeks, beautiful big creeks, rivers, ponds. You just like see all of this landscape, all this unbridled beauty in nature, and it's special. And it's part of the reason why when people do come visit here, they're like, "Oh wow, I didn't know this," because it once again, my life growing up, anytime I told anybody in California, Florida, even in Indiana, that I was born in Kentucky, 9 out of 10 times something negative was said about it. And a lot of that is because, hey, Mr. Carey, how are you doing today? You doing any better than you were yesterday? I'm talking about how, in my opinion, after living on both coasts of our country, or in whatever, and in between, I think people in Kentucky are friendlier overall. And this is one reason I think a lot of people are attracted to the communities here. But Perry, you said you moved to Casey County, I believe, a few years ago. Did you live in Kentucky before that, or did you move from another state? I'm just wondering if you don't mind me asking. And as I mentioned, I just noticed like there's more like the neighborhoods, like of course there's neighborhoods and towns where it's like this is a nice subdivision of mini mansions or whatever. Like, but in my opinion, people are just like there's less comparison. Like that saying, comparison is the thief of joy. People around here just compare each other less. And once again, I'm not speaking about absolutely 100% of the population. This is like per capita. I believe there's judgmental people here, and that makes for a much happier life for all of us. Ms. Carey said about the same. Also, EMS and law enforcement came out to the landlord's house. Um, oh, I'm sorry. And what do you mean by that? Does the landlord live next to you? Yes, you said you were around the Columbus area, right? Or you have family in Columbus? Um, Anybody that doesn't know about Columbus, Indiana, it's a neat town. It's been an architectural digest. There's a lot of like architecture and sculptures, and I'm sure there's so many places in many states. That's what's neat about YouTube. I like to watch people who travel to unheard, kind of unseen regions of our country. Edinburgh. Oh, okay, Edinburgh. Yeah, it's the outlet. Edinburgh has a nice, gigantic shopping. People where I grew up near like to go there to shop. So lots of people are on disability and assistance or support people, but I've noticed, in my opinion, those people still also seem to be very community minded in outreach in their community and try to help people and especially animals. Where we got our cat, this woman, I'm not assuming too much about her, but it was just like an older woman who takes care of dozens of cats and like houses them, takes care of them until she can adopt them out. And just like for all I know, she has a trust fund baby. But I'm just saying, like, the people around here, they tend to really care about their neighbors in a way that I haven't experienced anywhere else. Edinburgh, Indiana, I drove in that field before they built the mall. Oh wow, Mr. Carey, I was 15 years old for my permit then. Oh, that's so special. Yeah, my teenagers are learning to drive and stuff. It's a nerve-wracking time. You really, I don't even want to talk about it. But the beauty of nature is part of what I feel like is makes things like serene. And when you first experience it, like people say, it does feel like God's kind of whatever you believe in, if you believe in God or not. But like even if you're an atheist, I think if you start rolling through these hills, you're gonna believe this is God's country. It's so special. There's area at Kentucky with a lot of distillers really famous. I personally don't drink bourbon, but like 95% of the world's bourbon made there. And that's a really neat place to drive. I just drove through like Heaven Hill Distillery, and it's called Heaven Hill Distillery because it's like um, it's just unreal how beautiful the scenery is. And of course, a lot of it is developed, but there's so much color, even in the dead of winter. There's still a lot of color and like things seem like John said my dad was born in England. That's neat, John. I know we pronounce Edinburgh different than the UK, right? How do they pronounce it? Well, I would have to look that up and see how. So I wanna say I think little, like, theories, and call it conspiracy theory. One of the reasons why people like, less money, there's more poor people, excuse me, that affects, like, all of us, whether or not you are poor, it, like, helps to ground the rest and not having the internet, having a lack of internet connectivity, I believe, like, second to Alaska as far as the states that have the poorest internet availability. In my opinion, that's part of it. That's part of what helps, and when people live even where we do, like, the internet just isn't as good, like, we don't bother paying for it because we can't stream anything with it anyways. Louisville here is a different story, Kingsway. Yeah, I brought up Louisville. Unfortunately, it's full of crime. I believe there's tons of great people there. Louisville is such a great city, but I don't even really feel safe in the middle of the day there anymore like I used to. We moved away from a suburb. There was a shooting. I mean, I made the official decision. There was a shooting at a Kroger's like a mile away from us at like 1 p.m. And that was supposed to be, the edge of Louisville, safe part. This was 10 years ago. And it's Louisville. That's what it is, Mr. Carey. It's Louisville. And anybody that says Louisville or Louisville is wrong. And, like, I know there's some other cities out there that a lot of us probably, like, mispronounce compared to the way people who are natives there say it. Some, other cities. The Louisville isn't the only one, but it is kind of a pet peeve of mine how it seems like people mispronounce it more often than they pronounce it correct. But, yeah, people from Louisville, it's like Louisville with a Vulle. There's actually a sign that says, like, Louisville, Louisville, Louisville. Anyways, I'm gonna get over it. I'm over it. And because there's a lack of opportunity, like, you can look at it like glass half full, glass half empty. Yeah, there's a lack of opportunity, but there's also less people chasing that, like, less people in the rat race, and I believe that that just makes for a more peaceful community. Of course, there is going to be problems everywhere, and you should always check. And Realtor.com made it really easy to check the crime rates, and even in some of these really small rural counties, once again, super unfortunate, but it's the truth. There's just a drugs problem, and that makes for the crime rates to be really high. We can leave our lawnmower out like nobody's gonna steal it, but, a few counties over, I don't think we could do that as much. Of course, there's probably, like, some neighborhoods it'd be easier, but, like, for instance, when we were looking in and once again, I don't wanna insult anybody, but it's like the crime in certain parts of, like, Clay County, Manchester, Kentucky, and have, like, really cheap land, which can be good for you, and it can be safe for you. You have all this acreage, and you're gonna be fine, but there's parts of Clay County, Kentucky, there's, like, in a third world country, and I'm not making light of it, like, I don't think it's right. There's, like, a street we drove down a few times with an abandoned cop car, official cop car that's just, like, rotting away, like, where else in America do you see stuff like that? And, yeah, so it's, like, pretty much been forgotten, and, uh Hey, Martin, how are you doing today? I didn't see you last night. I did a live last night. How are you doing and are keeping cool? Is it really hot where you are? Because I got out of bed at 11 a.m. and my husband was already like, "Oh, it's so hot. It says it's 82, but it feels like 87 and it's like really hot." I always have sweated my whole life. I've sweated a lot, but lately, if I'm in 90 plus degree weather, I will sweat so bad that I can't even see out my eyes. Like, I mean it, letting down sweat into my eyeballs, and it's like I need to like figure out what is causing that. I'm gonna go out in the evening to water everything, of course. I pretty much said everything that I had in my notes, and I wanted to keep this under a half an hour because I do want to go live again tonight. And husband family is in in Indiana and Goshen area. John said, "Oh, that's neat. Goshen is north, right? I've been there before because we had my stepdad has family there, right? And it's like, is it on the lake? Is it that far north? You live in Kentucky in the East Appalachian Mountains. I live in one of the counties where it's like the foothills of Appalachia, where it technically like starts, but not like mountain. And there's no real definition of a mountain. Like look it up. There's no definitive height and slope mountain a mountain. There's like you think there'd be a definitive difference between a hill and a mountain, but there's not really. And hi Maro, how are you doing? Mr. Carey said, "Oh, cool. Mine are Columbus and Taylorsville, east of Indianapolis." Good morning, Maro. Yes, I had family in the Columbus area. My grandparents spent lots of time in Columbus when I was a kid. Anyways, To hear any of your comments. If you have any questions, like, feel free to ask me. Once again, there's, like, good and bad people everywhere, all over Kentucky, but you will definitely find there's, there are more rural communities where if your goal is to go off grid, you will totally be able to do whatever it is that you want, and if you play your cards right, have enough privacy especially, like, nobody's going to come bother you, and I'm gonna get off of here now. I plan on going live again at 9, and we're going to be talking about, like, adult subjects then. I didn't wanna talk about it in the middle of on Sunday, but this is something I wanna, like, try to continue to talk about, like, why I think people enjoy living here, why people might wanna move. There's just, like, a really general subject just saying, "Oh, people are happier," but anybody who's lived in more than a few places and has visited here, I'd really, really appreciate your input. I know I've seen people be surprised at how friendly people are here and in West Virginia, and I think it's kind of like racism trope plays a lot into that. I've seen people who minorities in particular be like, "Oh, I didn't expect people to be so friendly," but people really are. I know there's bad people, there's racist, hateful, prejudiced people everywhere, but I don't feel in my heart that Kentucky is full of racists. I really don't. Then again, like I said, I haven't lived everywhere all over Kentucky. I'd like to hear your experiences, and I'm not trying to invalidate them if you are a minority and you had a bad experience here. And I will let you guys go now. It was really nice talking to you. You coming to the live, Mr. Carey, to moderate, like always, from the river to the sea. I'm Indian. I want to come as an illegal immigrant. Well, yeah, that's tough. I wish we could let everybody come, I wish we could let the whole world come, it's just not possible. I think we need to have a better handle on immigration for the sake of everybody, including the immigrants. But, I totally get the sentiment that this is, like, stolen land, and if you come from South or Central America, um, yeah, I understand that attitude. At the same time, it's not safe, and I do feel for people, what they're going through right now. Oh, hey, Jesus girl. Did you see Stephanie's new video on her channel? Oh gosh, I was about to get off of here, but no, I did not. Can you tell me about it briefly? And I do want to go live again tonight. I was going to talk about how adult media is affecting us. If you guys know what I'm talking about, like adult media, like um, the spicy. I don't even like to use that adjective for it. I don't like using that. It must sound more positive than what it is. From the river to the sea said, I want to live in Indiana. Why from the river to the sea? Because I'm assuming you've heard the cost of living and there's lots of jobs, because that is true. The schools used to be better than what they are now, in my opinion, but that has a lot to do with the influx of people. Like, it's just difficult to teach children that don't speak English and whose parents don't even care them to speak English when they move to a new country, and that's just a problem. And it's sad. It makes me sad for those kids and the kids that go to the school with them. And then, Jesus girl, yep, I said what I had when I was blocked. Ooh, okay, what is going on? She's all about the crocodile tears, blaming him for her custody. Oh my gosh, yeah. It has nothing to do with marrying a man who admitted in a court of law that he has the history he has, and a lawyer said, "It's not a matter of if, but when something happens to those kids." The number one threat to any child in a home is a parent that's not their biological parent. Like, the people who harm children the most are step-parents or, the mom's boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever is the point. And, these people that work in the system know this, they can see right through her. I don't understand how she is so able to, like, slap an EPO on Aaron, like Aaron was saying, but, I mean, I guess maybe I do. He's, like, up and down the streets. I'm so stupid sometimes. Um, John, mind a matter of grid will be a real thing if that's your goal. Yes, John, we lived off grid for 11 months, and, it is tough, but we have goals of wanting to do it. And once our kids are a little bit more grown, hopefully we can sell property, and the lessons that we learned, we'll take those with us and we'll do it right this time. I was stubborn and didn't want to get an RV. Looking back, I wish we would have just gotten an RV and taken our time more with the shed conversion home, but it is what it is. So many RVs have mold issues, and I know lots of people that live in RVs and they spend so much money in the wintertime heating them. Just the amount of money you spend on propane, like you might as well be renting, basically, is what I've heard from around here. And I know there's ways you could insulate them a little bit better, but I do want I'm hoping, like this channel will show us develop this property and move on to the next, which is definitely going to be, I mean, ideally you get a property that has utilities on it. It's just ideal. If you have a house, even if it's like a tear down, if that house has like a toilet that flushes, you're just safer because I'm paranoid in that aspect. Like I still want to play by the EPA's rules. I'm not going to ever like invest 200, $300,000 in a structure that is never going to be worth that much money that I put into it. At least when we ran out of money, we turned around and sold what we had built. Like we dumped it and we sold it for more than what we put into it. So, anyways, John said to Jesus Girl, if you got an email, I can show you what I did say but deleted. Are you talking about John to Stephanie? And Jesus Girl said, John, my username, no spaces, at Gmail, I'm assuming. Mr. Carey, would you like me to subscribe to you, John? I just did. I hope it helps. Um, you have a channel, John? Are you? I don't know if you're the John that comments on my channel before, but you have a channel, John, but maybe you will keep people away. Are you talking to me? I'm sorry. This is like really annoying to anybody from the outside, just like tuning in. Okay. So, it, yeah, the point is anybody who's not in it, and that's part of like why I think that it's detrimental when women don't grow the F up and like get over their fifis and fall for men and lust for men who aren't their husband, who aren't the man that got them pregnant 3 times over and they already established a family with, and that like chase their fleeting feelings to like fall in love with somebody else. Like people from the outside looking in can see the character traits of both of those individuals and can see what it is. That's what's going on here, Stephanie. I hate to break it to you, but you're never going to be able to have the life that you can and reach your optimum health or anything until you take responsibility for your actions that caused this. There's nothing but your actions deciding to uproot your family to move to Kentucky because of a YouTube star and then deciding to spend more and more amount of time with him to the point where your husband showed me like he loved his family, like started not as much time at work because his wife was always out filming with this YouTube guy. And it's action after action after action to these consequences. And I think that like it's the only thing that is positive about this situation is that somebody is making sure that those kids are protected in this way, at least hopefully. Or at a certain point, finally started to protect them. Unfortunately, they were, already where they were probably unsafe, unfortunately, supposedly, allegedly, on my commentary, and it falls under the Fair Use Act. And it's all them putting information out there. Like, nobody would know any of this if it was strictly Bible studying and about ministering the gospel and working together to spread God's word. Like, they're the ones that put absolutely every bit of information out. It's like, you guys don't know any. I said my kids are getting their driver's licenses. That's like the personal piece of information I think I've given out about my kids. And of course, I could talk about them all day long. I could make content about them, but it, John saying she needs to find God again, and her channel she used is still called Kane Country. Really? That's kind of odd. I mean, maybe as a mom, she feels like she has the same last name as her children, and that's like their family name. But that's like you're like saying like that. That's kind of why you don't like leave the man to go marry somebody else and take his last name. Jesus Girl said exactly. F your feelings, motherhood, the eggplant. Exactly. And if you aren't, yeah, I don't wanna, like, give men a pass, but, like, I just think it's worse when I just think it's almost worse in a way when women do it. Oh, I'm sorry, like, is that bad for me to say, "Jesus girl, do you agree with me?" Like, I don't wanna give men a pass for, like, their testosterone and the way they are, but, like, because we are more in tune with emotions, because we are more nurturing, like, it's almost, like, worse to me in a way when a mother, because 'cause you've grown these babies in your body and, like, you made sure you got his last name, and then you went through all of that, and now you're gonna, like, just, like, go do it with somebody else. Go say always and forever to somebody else, um, after you give birth a few times is wild to me. Are you talking about Palestine, Lucine? Lucine, chill, Jesus girl. I don't agree with any of these Middle East wars being run by these oligarchs that are basically megalomaniacs that aren't doing any good for any of us, like 99.9% of the world. all they're doing is, running their war machines and putting money in their pocket, and it's really sad to me, and that's why, like, I hope my channel for some bit of hope, the more gardening content I do, because I really do believe with all my heart, one of the only answers to everything that's going on in this world is more of us growing our food and being as self-sustainable as possible in the ways that are possible. Like, me and my husband just had this conversation about how everything, especially our clothing, like, if there's holes showing up, like, you have something for less than a year and there's holes forming in it, like, everything is going so far downhill. So tired of putting my money into things that are, like, lower quality than ever before, and I know we're not the only ones, and there's so many ways we could work together, and I feel like now people hopefully will have more under them and be more apt to do things that we need to vote with our basically. You don't have many dollars, be as self-sustainable as you can with what you've got, and, support the people that are. John, it's called Cane Country, blog one, blah, blah. LOL, she done used up all compassion from mothers, not talking to you, LOL. She will get to your question. Who had a question? Oh, okay, I think I answered that question. She changed the title pic. Jesus Girl said, "It's her and a horse for now." Goodness gracious. John, Jesus Girl, I knew she would in a few hours once I pointed it out. Neither gender gets a pass, Jesus Girl, but a mother abandoning her children wouldn't piss on anyone if they were on fire. Right, like, it's bad, it's betrayal either, but there's something about a woman doing it that, like, I think you have to be truly broken inside to be a woman doing like, something really is wrong. Thomas Haggerty. Hi, Thomas. Handsome Bob. Okay, I just answered that if you wanna rewind it a little bit, Bob. Lucian, you gained my respect. At least you answered. I have watched many lives, but many, many people are even afraid to answer that question because of the fear of being canceled. Well, I have a pretty small channel and I'm used to my subs fluctuating because I have strong opinions. But I always say, like, I'm a centrist, I'm a registered independent. I really do see both sides most of the time. I don't see how anybody supports, like, what is going on when it comes to this, though, honestly. I don't believe that the people, like, hang glided I think Israel have let those people, in my opinion, supposedly, allegedly, hang glide in there, and, like, this whole thing was like, most wars, like, false flags are usually contrived, and it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible what people are going through because of a handful of rich, greedy men, basically, and I've been vocal, the extremists exist in Islam, and I don't agree with any extremists from any religion. But yeah, it's really horribly unfortunate. And I remember losing respect for Obama, and he like started bombing Syria. That's like what really opened my eyes. To, like there was like no good reason. They're always finding some reason to do what they don't need. No reason for it. Jesus Girl, she changed the title handle. It's Stephanie Morris now. Been that way for a minute. Just changed today. Okay. It's interesting it would like take her. She would even like upload on that channel. But so did she advertise the GoFundMe? Was she talking about people slandering? Like I guess obviously I'm probably gonna go watch it now. Jesus Girl said the wind created in children by maternal rejection is insidious and children won't hate the mom, they will turn that pain on themselves. That's why I don't have any tolerance for that BS. Exactly. Like how I don't know how they know this, but children, when they're in their infancy, they see their mother as part of them, like, they are part of their mom. They don't realize they are a separate being for several months of their life. Like, your attachment to your mom is so strong, it's just and, um, yeah, and I don't wanna talk too much about, like, the kids, but when she talks about how it's other people's fault, like, that is also, it's detrimental to them, and she can't understand she's never gonna be able to look them in the eye and tell them that she's sorry for mistakes. We all make mistakes, like, nobody's perfect, of course, but especially in my opinion, I think they thought they could just, like, start another family, and that's not to say she didn't have kids, but now the reality of the situation is hitting her that, like, what if she can't start another family? Our fertility does go way down in our late 30s. I didn't realize how old she was until somebody told me she's, like, my age. I thought she was, like, in her mid, early 30s. Like, no, like, the age of 35, your fertility goes down dramatically each year, and I have heard when you have kids, it is easier to get pregnant in your, like, 40s, 50s, because your body is like there's a term for this. It's almost like your body's primed for it more so than women didn't get pregnant until she was 35 or older. But anyways, they're finding out more and more, even older sperm, like, that matters more than what we thought. Like, men that are older than 35, their sperm is they're contributing to, a lot of these issues. In my opinion, I think a lot of it's environmental and, like, genetics, epigenetics, or, like, switches that can be turned on and off in one generation. And I think that that's playing a huge role. It's like a lot of these things wouldn't be affecting us at all if it were triggers in our environment. And that could happen in utero or after you're even. Jesus girl, she changed the title handle. Oh, I read that already. Exactly. No personal responsibility to being taken whatsoever. Yes. Lucy said, yeah, war should not happen to normal human, normal mothers who suffer the most in these kinds of so-called wars. Only normal civilians get hurt over government choices. Like, yes. What's that saying? Poor men die in the rich men's wars. Yes, I was taught as a child, Vietnam was fought over poppy fields and is absolutely ridiculous. And we're all run by people who make money making weapon, wartime things. It's insane. And the other thing that's like really crazy about our country, if you know like the statistics on how many factories are in China that build their tanks, and like like we don't have what we used to as far as like the ability to make our own military as strong as it could and should be. Mr. Carey, I'm still reeling over the air conditioning connection to SIDS. Yes, if anybody isn't aware of what Mr. Last night I said in a video about a year ago. I'm sorry, I should have like gotten the title of the video, guys, but like I have it saved on my phone. Titus said SIDS is caused by cold air slash air conditioning, or the increase in SIDS. Like sometimes SIDS is caused by air conditioning. And when I researched it, it's actually the opposite, only been linked to overheating and as far as temperatures. Jesus girl, at 50% chance of miscarriage in any pregnancy. Stephanie has other problems. Had a massive fibroid that restricted the uterine growth of the youngest child. Oh, I had no idea about that, Jesus girl. Yikes on bikes. That sounds awful. That sounds painful. I've seen so many women in the hysterectomy groups I'm in, like that had these gigantic fibroids. What some women go through. Hi, Mark Shoemaker. How are you doing today? John, no, she just cried and said she realizes she needs more God and she doesn't hate the ones attacking her so fake and numb or dumb. Um, yeah, well, I mean, you just put yourself out there. I hate anybody that would not like me. Like you're never going to be everybody's cup of tea, but like for her to like that's a typical stunted growth, that damsel in distress mentality that a lot of us women suffer from. That's what I was saying. Like I learned stoicism my husband, not just from him, but he was like a good example in my life of like being less emotionally reactive. But you still need to process it. That's not to say like you need to like stuff everything down, but you're like constantly pointing the finger at the other person. You're the common denominator in all of these situations you're speaking about. At a certain point, you have to realize and like look in the mirror. Your problem, your actions as an adult create your life. You alone have created this family, and you alone broke it up. And yeah, of course, you're going to air out your dirty laundry to everybody and expect them like hold your hand and pay for it, but never say anything critical about it. Is really telling to how selfish she is. And once again, everybody throws this around a lot, but narcissism comes to mind. Like, how self-absorbed do you have to be to not understand what your husband has did with children and animals, and why people like it? I don't want to make anybody like plenty of you guys are religious in the chat, so I don't mean it towards like all people. It's just like an example of why there is as much abuse as there is in religious circles, because it's like they don't even care about it. Like once I hear a man did what he did, like I'm never going to be able to look at him and not think about it. So in a way, it's like, what happened to her to make her like that is really sad. She needs more God. Isn't her life like just literally that? What she needs to do is really like, work on her actions. Like quit just talking about it. Um, JC was born NICU preemie. Is that their youngest? Stephanie doesn't get that her audience has compassion fatigue. Is that one fundraiser? I keep meaning to check every day and I forget. Is that fundraiser still at $20? At $20 from Tracy? Because like I wasn't surprised to see that like didn't take off. Like of course they want to help them start a church, but they're not going to necessarily want to help them like go after every single person they want to in court. If I am the common denominator, then I can become the solution instead of the problem by making better choices. Jesus. Yes, that sounds like something that should be on a poster in a classroom. Jesus girl, her mother's example influences her decisions greatly. No idea on the GoFundMe. Yeah, today. Yes, and you're right. And Carl Jung is one of my favorite psychologists who is like Yeah, he took a lot from Freud, but he left all that sexual crap out of it basically, and as a daughter, you have to separate yourself from your mother's ID basically, and that is your struggle when you come into adulthood, and, same boys with their dads, and so, that is what is he and she books that, like, helps you learn about the opposite sex and, to in regards to having relationships with them. That was one of the most helpful books, and it's not like what you would call, like, a relationship, it's a psychology, and it wasn't by Jung, it's by somebody else who's, studied. And yeah, when you haven't really made the healing that somebody needs to make, especially when they have a dysfunctional family with a background, because you can't help who your mother is. You can't help if your mother was, in a mental institution or anything like that. Like, we can't help who our parents are, but you've got to do some kind of healing from that and really, really make a break. I'm sure it's like even more difficult in a lot of ways when you are separating your identity from that parent. Mr. Carey, I can't throw stones because the landlord for gravel driveway. Just lightning the mood. Yeah, I should go, and I don't put Titus Morris's tags in my videos, like, even though often the conversation turns into Titus. Like, I saying I don't want this to be like a Titus channel, but of course we're gonna like when we get together, it's gonna get brought up. Hi, Jeremy, how are you doing today? The road to Showalters needs blacktop bad. I didn't know that. That sucks. Yeah, I mean, kind of like that in many places out here, right? And they, like, keep paving the same potholes in cities like Louisville. Jesus girlfriend fact, there is a housing unit named after Carl Jung on the campus of the Looney Bin where Connie Stephanie's mom was locked up. Fun fact, that's like 4 degrees of whatever separation. So many potholes. Is that like that in all of Casey County, Mr. Carey? I mean, I remember just yeah, there's just a lot of drive people with really long and steep driveways that didn't take care of them, and, you know, I get it, you might need to order groceries, but if I had some of these driveways, I'd be, like, waiting at the end of the driveway with a cart or something, like, there's that bad. I was seeing many when, like, every other week I had a flat tire. Anyways, this, I assume, is mean comments are on a list for people that can now sue for slander. Um, I don't know what you mean by that, John, the GoFundMe? Her YouTube channel? Yeah, slander, you have to prove that somebody caused, a loss of income, that somebody ruined your reputation, and Titus ruined his own reputation, and they have no income. Like, it's technically income, but it's like really hard to, it fluctuates up and down so much. And if I was ever in front of a judge, I'd be like, yeah, his YouTube channel is like 8 years old, and usually monetized YouTube channels peak and, peter out, and it's clearly like what's going they caused me to not make the same amount of money on a platform like with AdSense account. Like that's just not nobody no. We're not H3 here, They think they're like something that they're not really. They don't have millions of subscribers with like millions of dollars in the bank. And even so, of course, some little channel like this isn't gonna do anything about it, and it is why I've hesitated to post more, like, I feel should be out there, that there should be more because people are like, "I need to stuff." Well, I don't want them to copyright the court video like they did with Aaron, and hey, Ruth, how are you doing? It is cheaper to live in Kentucky than in Indiana, much cheaper. Unless you're, like, literally in right across the river, like, it's gonna be probably as expensive. A lot of people move to Jeffersonville now to, escape the cost of living in Louisville right across the river, but with exception of that, like, so much cheaper. We had our air conditioning breakdown and came out, spent over an hour here, didn't charge us. I gave him a tip for his time. He said it was an electrical problem. The electrician came out here with an assistant, spent an hour and a half, and charged us $125. I swear in Indiana, that would have been like 250. It would have been 150 just for the electrician to come out. And I don't think the air conditioning repairman in Indiana would have like not charged me anything, especially considering he spent an hour of his time. We live pretty far out. I mean, I think they were close to us. But anyways, things like that, oil changes are even cheaper. Like, of course, there's still like expensive Valvolines that are $80, but you will find the mom and pop shops are still relatively cheap, like, around $50 and stuff like that. Like every little bit matters when, right? For most of us living paycheck to paycheck, because most Americans are. Jesus taught here that yesterday the road buckled. Oh, on an arterial. That's wild. Wow, Mr. Carey, as long as you have proof, it's not slander. Right, if you're repeating something that the man said in a court of law, and that's it, like, the nerve of her to really play the victim in all of this and not see, like, I'm in awe of it, like, I, as a person who is interested in psychology, really, like, besides the like, it's fascinating to me. I wish it didn't happen for the kids' sake at all, of course, but, like, to not see, like, it really shows the bars that some women can have on when it comes to how the most important factor in is having a man. My man, my man, my man, and that they're gonna have blinders onto anything that man does. Even if they know for a fact these things happened, still, like, this man could do no wrong, and it's there's, like, that thing, like, um what, like, the real evil is when the good people look on and do nothing, and it's kind of like that, like, behind every great man, there's a great woman. Well, behind every horrible man, there's some woman making excuses for him. There's some woman patting him on the back. There's some woman bringing the animals to slaughter, basically, for him, and it's absolutely sick and evil, and I not understand why people, like, even if you know in your whole heart that this man isn't what other people think it is, to not be able to see from an outside perspective why people would not want children in that care. And like they said in the court, his family, 3 children, like him and his siblings, were in their home. And then your answer was like, oh, well, the kids can go stay at Titus's parents' house. But they had already had at least 3 children that were in their care at that home. You have horrible things happen to them because, like, why would we put any other children in that home? Like, if you can't understand that, you shouldn't be a mom. You shouldn't be a parent. You should go get sterilized. I'll give you the name of my doctor in Louisville that told me she'd give me a hysterectomy in 5 minutes. No, I seriously feel like once somebody loses, like, the rights to their kids, and little kids especially, they should be sterilized, in my opinion. That's my opinion, because there's way too many people that do, like, Summer Wells' parents, they had lost children. Didn't I'm sorry, I missed a lot of comments. They had lost children, started another family, and, like, they, like, lost all their again. Like, the cycle often repeats itself. John, Mr. Carey, thank the Lord for screenshots. Yeah, for real. I take a lot of screenshots of comments. John, there's a Kentucky and a guy arrested over a thumbnail where he put a jailer face in a KKK outfit. Oh yeah, you talking about that like a week ago? Gosh darn it. Um, the guy that was pretty nasty to do. John said that guy resides in Clark County, Indiana, and meant to fight extradition to Meade County Jail. Oh, that's interesting. Jesus, even if they wanted to sue me or Lucky, there are plenty of others who are criticizing which rock broke the window, can't prove it. Yeah, and like what I just like just the income alone, where they're gonna say like people don't donate to our GoFundMe as much. They're absolutely delusional. I have like this tank top on under this tank top because I sewed these straps and I was all paranoid like the strap was gonna fail, and I hate it right now. So, but still, for making a pick, I don't know. The world is pretty crazy these days. They're Jesus girl, they're figures, and that makes the legal lift much heavier. Right, right. Mr. Carey, John, it's crazy, really crazy. Jesus girl, Stephanie can hide assets under her mother's uncle's names, others. Yeah. He has an attorney out of Louisville named Thomas Clay. Are you talking about the guy in Clark County, Indiana, right now, Mr. Carey? Girl said, absolutely. John, yeah, Jonah said they borrowed cash from him for a car for her, but wanted it in his name. He claims he didn't do it, but who knows? Oh, that's so shady. See, stuff like that. Like, I have faith that, like, it, I might be a little naive, but I have faith, good heart, you do right by people, like, everything's gonna work out. You know what I mean? Like, because of faith in God and the way I feel like uh, things like this work out, like, I don't feel threatened. Yeah, really hard for my money, and it's really easy for people like them that don't like ever notice that, like, it's the people that don't. That's why I bring the people that never have, like Titus Morris has literally never worked a job, right? Like he said, he's like shoed people's horses. Okay, I don't think that counts. Is like what I'm talking about when you have a boss who's telling you this is what you do, you clock in here, you clock out there, and like that, it does help temper you as a person. I think it's good for us, and believe that at this point, a lot of us are indentured servants. At the same time, we do have more opportunity. We do have more more available for us that we need to take advantage of. And yeah, there's people like them that it's so easy to have your hand out when you literally don't work. I can't stress that enough. It's like this guy I made a video about that ate raw meat, that would talk crap about people that worked, but his life is funded off of people who work, and he couch surfs around the world, and every person whose house he's crashing at works a job, but he'll sit there and, like, talk complete crap about capitalism and how, like, anybody who works is an idiot. He he literally relies on people who work, you know? And I think that they are, and I made my first factory job video, and they were like, "Good for you, have fun at your factory," with, like, a winky face or whatever, and I'm like, I know you're like, here you are, you think that you're, like, making fun of me for working hard. That just shows what a douchebag you are, you know, because like, who would do that but somebody who doesn't work hard themselves? And I know he does grow some stuff, like, but I wouldn't call what the garden Titus and Stephanie have going on, I wouldn't call that no farm. That's not they're not a farm, and they could be, all that acreage, they could be making a lot of money. They could rent out probably several acres to somebody that, like, would give them money. Like, they could have so many steady streams of income because of that land. In my opinion, it doesn't seem like they are doing, and it's, like, way, uh, lazy and just, wasteful. It's wasteful to not do what you could do. A few $100,000, you know how much easier they could have had a little church I could have added on to. I was watching this New England documentary on one of the oldest houses in Massachusetts, and they were talking about how it was called a half house. Usually it was customary, this was in the 1600s. You'd build half your house, and then like 10, 20 years later, when you had the rest of the money, you like built another half of the house. And it's really neat that like this is what we need to get closer to. This is what people have gone far away, gotten in this like debt mindset that's like so detrimental for people. And that's what they could have done with their church. That's what all of us could have done. I've seen there's a family that like put two sheds together. Oh gosh, I forget the name of their channel. But I mean, they did that initially at first, but it would be easy to add on, you know? You hardly ever see people do that. Okay, once again, I'm being silly about not leaving when I say I'm going to leave. Just being honest and a person of integrity can make all the differences in protecting one's life trajectory, Jesus Girl said. I agree. We have so much to be grateful for. Yes. And anytime I am feeling like burnt out a little bit or whatever, like I am very thankful. I have like a safe place to make decent money. Do I make a lot of money? No, but I make enough money. And a lot of people in the world don't have that, you know, for them to be able to provide for their families. They're like risking their lives or getting exposed to horrible toxins and Jesus girl work is necessary for being a person of good character. Even my little niece with cerebral palsy who can't swallow or lift her head user still wants to go swimming in color and dye eggs. Oh, bless her heart. Mr. Carey, the Whittaker has lost has their U okay. Has their own UT page and starting all over due to stuff with soft white underbelly, etc. They're gonna focus on just the now their new channel. Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Everyone can have a meaningful life no matter our abilities, but we all need to bring what we have to offer to the table. Yes, Jesus girl. And I believe it's the people who are truly disabled. It's our responsibility to take care of those people, right? And if more people had said, it'd be a lot easier for families with special needs individuals. Javante, how are you doing? Thank you for saying Jesus loves you. That's nice. John, that's not a farm. It's a small mini petting zoo. LOL wouldn't qualify for a pumpkin farm. The only thing I'm gonna grow in my bigger plot this year is pumpkins. I'm gonna start that. I'm gonna start making the mounds really soon, but I'm so excited to have a pumpkin, like a legit pumpkin patch this year. Jesus Girl said the Whitakers have so much potential, especially to me who finished high school. Even Ray could do a lot. Oh, I didn't. I've only seen a few of the videos that way years ago, Soft White Underbelly did. Mr. Carey, Jesus Girl, absolutely. Calvin and Holmes, we offer nothing. It's only through Jesus that we find redemption. Yeah, so there's this piano competition show. It's based out of the UK, and there was this one of the most beautiful pianists ever. These men that were the experts who judged the competition were just in shock. You could tell they're usually so the people. And this girl is like blind, nonverbal. You would look at her, and a lot of people would call her a you know what tard and think that she doesn't have many capabilities, but she can play the piano better than anybody else you've ever seen in your life. Of course, she was um, I was gonna say fortunate, but like everybody should be so fortunate. She deserves that to have somebody who spent the time to teach her how to play the piano, but it's just like, really, like, all these nonverbal people for centuries that have been written off, who had who knows what kind of talents, like, even stronger capabilities and talents than the rest of us, and, just people didn't take the time to help them figure out what those were, and that was just a beautiful example of how even people differently abled can bring so much to the table because we need beauty. Hi, Arnold. How are you doing? Okay. I really think I need to get off of here. It seems like my connection gets worse around an hour, so I'm trying to keep all my lives under an hour. And as I mentioned before, we're gonna get back on here probably around 9. Thomas Love, I barely ever drink, but thanks. I will hopefully see most of you guys later, and it was nice talking to you. If you have a comment, especially about what the title of this was, like friendly people, if you visited in or lived in Kentucky, I'd really like to hear your thoughts in comparison with other people. So see you later, Jesus girl. Bye, Mr. Carey and Thomas Love and everybody on here. Thank you for coming.